Hello, I'm Sarah from Peak Physiotherapy and welcome to another episode in our A to Z series. We're now at the tricky end of the alphabet, so please allow me a little bit of artistic license for today's letter, which is X. We're going to talk about extreme movement, otherwise known as hypermobility. The definition of hypermobility is excessive range of movement at a joint, and this can affect any joint within the body. Now, relative hypermobility is actually quite a common thing amongst dancers, as the increased flexibility, the ease of movement and the nice line are actually really desirable qualities. However, this extreme movement doesn't come without problems. Hypermobility essentially is an abnormality of the connective tissue which can affect the tendons and ligaments, so therefore we can have problems such as pain, instability and weakness at our joints. From a physio perspective, when I'm working with a hypermobile dancer, I'm conscious of a number of different areas. I'm looking at the feet and ankles, the knees, the hips, the lower back and the shoulders or the scapula. And we've actually looked at a number of these different areas throughout the series, and I've given you lots of ideas and lots of exercises that can help to start to build some stability, control and strength in these areas. So do go back and have a look at these and revise them. Most types of hypermobility are what we call benign hypermobility, which means they're not linked to any serious rheumatological pathology. And if you think you do have increased flexibility of your joints, there is a quick test that you can do yourself at home. It's not an exact science, but it does give us a guide as to whether you have excessive movement, and we can then work on that with you in physio to try and help control your joints. It's a 9-point score, and you basically score 1 point for each area that you test, and I'll run through these with you now. The first two tests are within the hand. The first one is with our little finger, trying to hyperextend our little finger up towards the ceiling to 90 degrees or beyond. Now mine doesn't quite go that far, so it would be more straight than this. That's 1 point and another point for the other side. The second is with our thumb, trying to touch our thumb to our forearm, and again, 1 point for each hand. The third area is looking at our elbows. If you place your arms out to the side, we're looking for more than 10 degrees of extension at each arm, and again, there's a point for each elbow. The next point is checking relative flexibility in the spine and the hips, and just seeing whether you can put your hands flat onto the floor without bending your knees, and again, there's 1 point for that. Then if we come down onto the floor and hyperextend our knees. Again, if the knees hyperextend greater than 10 degrees, that's counted as 1 point for each leg. And that's your 9-point score. As a general rule of thumb, if you score greater than 4 or 5 out of 9, you are considered clinically to be hypermobile. However, there are a number of factors that need to be taken into consideration with that diagnosis, such as history of any injury or pain and your presentation of symptoms. So please don't panic if you do score more than that number. Now, one thing we haven't covered so far in the series that I do want to talk a little bit about now is hyperextension at the knee or sway backs. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with those first positions where the back of your knees are touching, but your heels aren't because of that sway into the back of the joint. Now, apart from the excessive mobility that's available, what happens is the quadriceps on the front of the thigh contract too strongly relative to the hamstrings on the back. So it's important to try and learn how to control this movement to improve your alignment when you're in a standing position to protect the joint. We need to learn how to effect a co-contraction of the quads on the front and the hamstrings on the back of the thigh. And the best position to practice this in initially is this long sitting position, as you will get some feedback from your heels being in contact with the floor or the mat. I need you to draw your kneecap up so you are contracting through your quadriceps, but not to the extent that your heel pops off the floor. So you will have some relative tension through the back of the thigh and the back of the knee whilst pulling up at the front. It will feel a little bit strange to begin with, almost as though you're not fully contracting the quads to its maximum potential, but that's okay. And as you get used to this straight leg position rather than the over straight position, that will become a more natural feeling. Once you've got the hang of the co-contraction exercise and how it feels within the knee, you can then translate this into a more functional position, so standing and working in first and second, being conscious to work with a straight but not an over straight knee. Other things to be careful of when you're standing in a relaxed position: don't allow yourself to sink into your supporting hip and allow the other leg to sway back. Hanging into the back of the joint is really problematic for the structures at the back of the knee and can cause pain and injury, so do be careful at all times. There are a lot of very flexible dancers out there who go on to have long and successful careers, so hypermobility in itself is not a problem if controlled appropriately. However, if you have any pain or instability that you think is associated with hypermobility, I would advise that you do speak to a qualified physio, as you may need a programme of stretching and strengthening and proprioception to help you. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our contact details can be found on our website at peakphysiotherapy.com. I hope you found this video helpful. Please do feel free to like and share the content, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.